Hey students, it's Miss Maples. This video is for Monday, February 1st, and instead of me walking you through instruction in class, we're doing individual breakout rooms, and you're watching this video to help you read, annotate, and understand the poem Lift Every Voice and Sing, and complete today's response table, which is in your week 5 classwork response table assignment that's posted in Google Classroom. So, hi Lily, my cat came in. You should have already taken notes with Miss Maples. So, on figurative language in today's slideshow. So you should have learned about how figurative language is anything that is not meant to be taken literally. Poets use tons of figurative language in their writing. Songwriters use tons of figurative language. These are different types: imagery, metaphor, simile, personification, and symbols. So we will be paying attention to those as we read and annotate Lift Every Voice and Sing. And here's a little bit of background on the poem. So the poem is by James Weldon Johnson. He was an American poet and academic. He was also an early civil rights activist. So he was working toward equal rights between whites and African Americans, and just general, like having equal rights in America. And he wrote the poem Lift Every Voice and Sing in 1900. So we're talking 120 years ago. It celebrates the gains of African Americans since the Civil War, which was in the mid 1800s. So 1900 was a very different time than now. So you can think back to when James Weldon Johnson wrote this poem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. It wasn't distant history that there were slaves. We're talking less than 50 years before there had been slaves. There was still intense racism, segregation, limiting of rights for African Americans in our country in 1900. So James Weldon Johnson wrote the poem, and then later his brother, Weldon's brother, actually put it to music. So Lift Every Voice and Sing is better known as a song, and it's considered the Black national anthem. We'll be listening to some of those different versions. You can look them up on your own too, but it's a very well-known song that's kind of considered empowering and hopeful for equality and the African American community. All right. So you should already have your notes here. So I'm going to read each stanza, and I'm going to kind of talk you through how to do your annotations. So if you follow along, it should be very easy to complete your work for today. So here is the first stanza of James Weldon's poem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, that he wrote in 1900. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies, let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. So the first thing I want you all to do is to try to paraphrase the stanza. So in your own words, what is this stanza about? What's being discussed? So I'll kind of help you more with the first stanza, so then you can use what we just did as you're doing the other stanzas of this poem. So my paraphrase to get the main idea of this, this poem asks us to be hopeful, sing, not literally sing, sing together, have faith, and keep marching. That's my paraphrase. You don't have to write the same thing. But I was just trying to get like the main point that I picked up from reading that stanza. Okay, Figurative language. I want you to annotate by selecting with your text or with your cursor, just like we do when we annotated the Gift of the Magi or the different articles that we read. So select text and label it as imagery, metaphor, simile, symbol, or personification. Okay. So let's go through and try to see what we can find. Here's one that I found pretty easily. Let it resound, or high as the listening skies, and resound loud as the rolling sea. Those are both examples of similes. I think that lift every voice and sing is a metaphor comparing the act of singing to the act of hoping, right? Like, I don't think he's literally asking everyone to sing. I think he's saying we need to hope, we need to work. My cat's hitting my computer. Go away, Lily. Sorry. Dark past. That's a symbol for dark, meaning like difficult times. So dark past symbolizes difficult times. Think slavery, think segregation, right? The rising sun and the new day are both symbols of change. If I looked at you guys and said, you guys, it's a new day, the sun rises again, you would probably pick up on the fact that I'm talking about it's a chance to do things differently. Each day is a chance to do things differently. So he's using those as symbolic. Okay. So we found some examples of figurative language. You don't have to mark every single thing, but try to get the main points. And then let's move on to the next one. So I want you to go through and look for words or phrases with strong positive connotation and highlight them red. So I already started that. Sing, harmonies, liberty, rejoicing. We're looking for words with strong positive connotation. Faith. Hope. Rising sun and new day are both positive because symbolically they represent something positive. Victory and one, right? So again, you're not trying to get every single word, you're trying to get the main idea. Lots of positive words, and I didn't even get all of them. Sing is positive, song we would think of as positive. Words with strong negative connotation. So I'm going to say dark past. That has a strong negative connotation. I'm marking that in green. That's kind of it. Mostly this stanza is very positive. Positive images, positive figurative language, positive diction with positive connotation, right? And it feels hopeful. So now we're getting to tone, how it feels. So you can use the wheel of feelings or the tone word list to help you. Let's check out the wheel of feelings. Feelings wheel. All right, I'm going to say that we're definitely in the happy section, right? This first stanza feels Happy. Okay, now let's go out from happy. Powerful. I think powerful is probably accurate. I wouldn't say peaceful. It sounds like, oh, go get it, Proud. So let's kind of work out from here and see if we can find any words. Courageous, confident, also joyful. So those are the words I'm going to put. I think all of those fit. And I think also hopeful. You can pick a word that's not on the list too. And you can put more than 1 or 2. I put 4. And why did I pick these? This first stanza feels powerful and hopeful. All of the images, figurative language, and diction, except dark past, are very positive. All right, so I just helped you through the first stanza. And that's what you're going to do for every stanza. This poem has 3 stanzas, and each one takes on a very different feel. Okay? I'm going to do less. I'm not going to mark as much. You're going to have to do more independently through these other stanzas. But I'm still going to read it and kind of lead you through it a little bit. So here's stanza 2. So first I'm going to read it. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet, with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to a place for which our fathers sighed? We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. I'm already getting a very different feel just from reading through this stanza. So first, we're going to try to paraphrase stanza 2. Okay? So this stanza is about the challenges, difficulties, and injustices of the past for African Americans. However, I'm not going to write this last part, but however, in places like have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed, Johnson is pointing out that even though there's been a lot of difficulty and even though there's still a long way to go, their great-grandfather that was a slave would never have been able to imagine how far they've come. So he's pointing out like the progress that has been made, right? So even though he's pointing out the difficulties, he's also pointing out the progress that they have kept going even through all the difficulties. Okay? And that there was a gloomy past, but now we can see this bright light, like a light at the end of the tunnel. So I didn't write all of that here. I want you to put it in your own words, but show how even though it's showing the difficulties, it's also showing the progress, right? The change that has happened over time for the African American community. Okay. My cat is back. Lily. That's what happens if I don't shut the door. Please go. Thank you. Okay, so now let's go through and find figurative language. Symbols, metaphors, similes, personification, okay? Hope unborn had died. Hope doesn't die. It's not a thing. That would be personification, right? I'm going to say stony the road we trod. Trod means walk. I don't think he's literally saying that the road is super bumpy. I think he means it figuratively. Like, we have had a hard time on this road, right? So I'm going to say that the stony road is a metaphor for the difficulties through life. So he's pointing out that African Americans have had a stony road. A chastening rod is something that I'm just going to write a note. This isn't it's for hitting. Like a slave might have been hit with a rod to correct behavior. Like it's something really terrible, right? So he's pointing out that there's been a stony road. There's been a lot of injustices, abuse, physical, mental, that hope unborn has died. And then he uses this word yet, which means, wait a second. However, with a steady beat, our weary, tired feet are in a place that our parents would have sighed for. So there has been progress, right? I don't think this is figurative language. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. He doesn't literally mean those things. He means them figuratively or metaphorically. There has been much pain, the crying, the tears, and suffering, the blood, right? On the path to a better, more just society. White gleam and bright star, those are symbols. Symbols of hope, symbols of goodness. Okay, I'm not going to actually highlight in red and green here, but I'm going to say stuff, right? So you might have noticed there's a lot more negative diction in this piece. So you're going to see a lot more green that you've highlighted. So negative, stony, chastening, died, weary, tears, slaughtered, very negative, blood, gloomy, right? Positive words, I would say the end. White gleam, bright star, right? So here he's showing all of the difficulties, but also we look at where we stand now. We can see light. It's getting better. Okay. And then tone word list or wheel of feelings. If you go to the feelings wheel, you're definitely going to be more on this side, right? Sad, disgusted, angry. I get more of a sad feel. It doesn't feel angry to me. It feels like it's, there's a sadness to it. I'm trying to find a word that I think fits, and I don't know that I find one here. So if you are trying to find a word, you can always come up with your own too. If one that doesn't fit, like somber to me might be a good word. But remember that you can also use your tone word list. There's just more options there. To me, the second stanza is remembering all of the bad. It's kind of somber, serious, Concerned, maybe. Maybe depressed, except there's a hopefulness to it too. Sometimes it takes a bit to figure out how you want to describe the tone. Mourning, oh, I kind of like that. There's kind of a mourningness to it, like looking back on the bad things, right? So I'm going to write mourning but still hopeful. And I think I kind of described why, right? Like he's looking back and mourning the suffering and the difficulties, but also there's still hope for a future. It's not just like whatever, right? Okay, last stanza. I want to teach you guys a term. Archaic diction. Can I write it? Ooh, fun. Okay. Archaic. That means old, not used anymore. Think like if you've ever read anything Shakespearean, he uses all of these words that we don't use anymore. That's archaic. Okay. So there is a lot of archaic old diction in this last piece, and he does it for effect, and we'll talk about that. Okay. You see, thou. That's not a word that we use anymore. Okay. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we meet thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God and true to our native land. Okay, the first two stanzas, James Weldon Johnson is talking to African Americans, right? Like he's talking directly to his people and saying, let's lift our voices and sing, let's be hopeful, right? Yes, we've gone through a difficult time, but now we're coming to a better future. In this last stanza, it's a prayer. He's addressing God, right? Talking to God. And if you know anything, if you've ever read the King James version of the Bible, which is the one that James Weldon Johnson would be referring to, this is what it sounds like. So he's using this archaic old diction because it sounds like the King James version of the Bible. So he's making it sound like a prayer through his choice of diction. Smart, right? So to paraphrase it, I'm not going to write it, but I will describe how I would just say it. I'd say this last stanza is a prayer to God, saying that you've brought us this far, God. You've led us to a good place. Keep us there. We don't want to forget you. We don't want to get on a bad path. So please help us stay on the right path. Okay, so that's kind of to me what this last stanza is about. So you can write that in your own words. For figurative language, let us into the light. That's a symbol, right? Oops. So saying God has led them into light, hope. I don't think that they're actually talking about their hearts getting drunk on wine. I think that this part is saying it's a metaphor. saying, God, don't let us get caught up in worldly things that might make us forget our job as Christians or our job to be good. Something like that. Shadowed beneath thy hand, also metaphor. Under God's hand means being led and protected by God, right? Path is also a symbol of not just a literal path, but where they need to go to get to who they want to be, right? Okay. So looking at diction, go through. I'm not going to help you. You should be able to do this on your own. Highlight words that seem positive in red. Highlight words that are negative in green. And then go find a word that you think fits the feeling of this stanza and tell me why. Okay. Lastly, you need to figure out what the theme of this poem is. What's the message? All right. So subjects are what are the topics that come up in this poem? So racial discrimination. I'd say progress is a big one. Hope is a big topic. Working together. A lot about lift every voice and sing. Let's have harmony, right? I'm not going to, so you can write some of your own too. I just listed what came to mind. But these are, if someone said, what's lift every voice and sing about? I'd be like, oh, it's about racial discrimination. It's about progress to a better world, right? Now, what's a message you can take away? So remember, if you take subject plus message, you get theme. So if you want to write racial discrimination, you could say racial discrimination continues. However, we need to keep fighting for a better world. That could be a theme. Or progress isn't a perfect straight line. There are going to be difficult times and better times. Hope, come up with how you want to say it, but come up with one or two themes that you can take away from the poem. Hopefully that helped you all. Sorry for the cat interrupting. Come here, Lily, if you're going to bother me the entire time I do my video. Okay, can you say, don't bite me. Can you say bye to the students? Say meow meow. All right, bye you guys. Thanks for watching.